They sort of go hand in hand actually, because I am actually I'm quite a highly strung and nervy person, to tell you the truth, and that comes out on stage, because actually on, I can't do. It's interesting. We were having this conversation, Adam and I, after the Liverpool event. Um, you know, we absolutely love performing as a 2-on-2, but if you look at our two individual solo performances from that event, you watch his body language versus my body language. I am more animated on stage, and it's true of all of my battles, and even in the 2-on-2 ones, where I have to be. It's actually it's slightly a defense mechanism against I want to say against choking, touch wood, but it's like yeah, against stumbling and maybe even forgetting your lines or forgetting how to perform it, because actually you kind of, as soon as it's your round starts, you actually kind of do enter a different world in your mind, and it all sort of becomes a little bit of a blur, because at least in my case, I just rehearse and just do it to death, this material. So I just know the material inside out by the time that it comes to the battle, or at least that's where I'd hope to be, to the point where Rivers put it well on the Don't Flop podcast. I think I saw a few months back, where he was like, you want to do your rounds to the point where you're just bored of them, and I do, and you are bored, and you become bored of them, and I'm just so fucking bored of this material by the time I'm doing it for the actual battle itself. But that's good, because then hopefully, if I stumble, and this has happened before, I can hopefully get back on track fairly easily. But
isn't it part of it a command of the stage though? Like you really do seem to own the stage when you're performing live. Like
I have to.
You're
I sort of have to, though, because it's like I say, what's the best way to term it? I'm sort of saying it's like a defense mechanism. It's not that might not be the best.
What you're saying is you're Street Fighter's Akuma. You have to be you have to be in total momentum forward in order to be in control. The second someone puts you on the back foot, it kind of goes against how you've structured your delivery style.
It's kind of just hand in hand with the memory and getting through the nerves of actually performing it in front of an audience. That I think is the best way to put it, really, because to almost eliminate the thought that I am now performing it in front of hundreds of people, whereas the 90 other times I've gone through this script, I've not done that. To sort of it's to get through the nerves, is to just like kind of overperform it. So actually it kind of helps. And I think honestly, if you were to ask battle rappers and they were being honest with you, I think that would be a lot of people's answers when they were to search for it, is actually just like, because everyone gets nervous. But to be honest, even when I've been fairly, I'm not actually nervous it's difficult to describe. Like, I'm not actually nervous at the point when the battle starts that much at all. Like, I definitely wasn't for the Quill one. We were both like, we'd spoken before the battle. There's no like animosity or anything. Like, we were having a good laugh before the battle, and then like and Quill and I were chatting about this on the Don't Flop podcast recently, because we were saying we both have exactly the same response. You've got to be in your zone. You've got to be performing. And he's such a performer. He's such an eccentric performer, and just and he's got so much energy. And I'm similar. I have to do that to be able to get through the nerves of the performance. But it's more about the nerves once I've started. Like, there's nothing sort of before the event. It's pretty good as long as I'm the script is pretty clear in my head, as long as the bars are like in there, and the structure and the order is all it's all locked in. Then before, when I get to the event, it's not too bad. It's the waiting around is a bit annoying, and you get butterflies maybe a little bit, but then when you're actually performing, you get sort of butterflies and stuff at the event. But then once the battle starts, the adrenaline just takes over. That's it. And so it's me working with that adrenaline, kind of hand in hand, to sell it as much as possible, because I'm so bored of the bars by that point, or at least I'd hope to be, because I've got them ingrained enough. It's sort of it's like selling it, and sometimes that can mean overselling. and it's not as good. But a lot of the time, you know, it pulls off pretty. It means that there's a good payoff for the audience, you know. So it's interesting. But then anyway, so what we were speaking about, myself and Shuffle, is actually the difference. It wasn't just between our performances, it was like the two battles. Because if you watch him versus Harry, they are like feet glued in the same spot. Everything is this meticulous, like, I mean, it's so enviable. I still just am so enviable of the fact that Adam can do this so well. But basically, just his ability to deliver the you know, his comedic writing, especially, is just kind of like doing little looks and that kind of thing, and staying quite rooted to his spot. And Harry Baker, his opponent, was kind of exactly the same. So we were sort of joking around. It was both there, and then with Quill on the podcast, you know, saying like it's chalk and cheese, the performance style between the two battles, because you got one which is just like this full on energy, like we're like releasing energy and the adrenaline's taking over and we're like performing this stuff, you know, and the other one where it's just, you know, reined in kind of, and it adds so much more to the, you know, it's absolutely the less is more in a performance sense, with those guys, Harry and Shuffle, in their battle. So yeah, kind of chalk and cheese between the two performances, but like it's kind of a cheat code, really, to your point, because it comes off like it's all, you know, really, it comes off as confidence, and really it's a way to, it is like the only way that I can perform with confidence. But if I did keep it a bit more kind of still and reined in, then I get in my head, you know, a little bit more. It's interesting. I've tried to do it a few times, especially in solo battles, and there's some lines where you know you're going to do it, you know, reined in, still, kind of less is more performance. At the beginning of the Scapegoats battle is a bit like that, you know, and the beginning of my Quill battle as well is it's similar. It's just like saying one line but like sort of stood there very still. And you know, the whole the first half of my first round against Quill, I would have hoped to have just done it, just stood there rooted to a spot, because it is that kind of, you know, dry humor, you know, often one or two liners, that sort of thing. And so in an ideal world, I would have done that. But like after a while, I just need to like loosen up. It's like a natural thing. It's a natural instinct, and it's just how my body works in general. I'm just quite fidgety.